Are you a Victorian woman who loves to cycle, but your skirts just keep getting caught in the wheels of your bike? Well, I have the solution for you, the divided skirt. So in this video, I'm going to go through how I made my 1900 divided cycling skirt. So I started by cutting out all of the pieces in the main fabric, which was an amazing 100% wool plaid in pink and navy blue, which I got from a weaver's in Yorkshire. And I used the truly Victorian TV299 pattern for this. So I cut everything out in my wool plaid and everything out in my very fancy pink cotton lining and basted it all together. I also marked all of the pleat lines in chalk and then basted those through as well. So the first stage was to set the pleats. So I used my basting lines as my markers, and I took each basting line over to the next basting line and then pinned and carefully pressed each one very firmly in place. And then I did the same on the fronts. You see the fronts are a little bit different because you need to have this kind of overlap so you can get that buttoned look but also the skirt look. So next I sewed many buttonholes. I cheated a little bit and used the machine because, you know, that's a lot of buttonholes. Then I took the little plackets that look like they are pocket flaps, but actually they're how the skirt closes with a kind of drop front. So sewed around the edge of each of these and then trimmed, flipped and pressed these, and then more buttonholes. I then sewed them to either side of the front. So for most of the construction, I kept the two front pieces buttoned together so that I could make sure everything was symmetrical. I then put plain plackets onto the backs. Then, starting where my plackets ended, I sewed the side panels of the skirt to the front of the skirt. Then I sewed in the darts and sewed the side panels to the back panels. So I had two long strips for each leg at this point that were buttoned together down the centre. And then all of the raw edges, I pinked them so you've got a nice pretty edge on the inside that won't fray too much before I press them open. At this point I also took out some of the basting stitches that I didn't need anymore, which is very satisfying. Then I unbuttoned the front so that I had two separate legs to deal with. Then I sewed each of those legs into a separate tube. So this is what I always find the tricky part of trouser-like legged garments, is doing that seam around the crotch. So you stuff one leg into the other leg, which is inside out, and then match up all of your seams and all of your marks, and then pin that crotch seam all the way through from the waistband to waistband, front to back. I also tried to do a lot of pattern matching on this project, so that worked in a lot of places, so like in this crotch seam and down the centre back and down the centre front, perfect. But because of the way that the skirt is cut with all of those gourd shaped panels, it was very difficult to get the patterns to match up over the entire skirt. I picked my battles. So next was the waistband. There's a separate waistband on the front and the back. This was a really tricky part for the pattern matching because I was trying to work out the overlap and work out how it would sit horizontally and vertically all at once. So on both the front and the back waistbands, I then folded under the seam allowance, folded it over the top, pressed it, and then hand sewed it in place. I folded the hem over 1/2 inch and then 1 inch, making sure to balance it all the way around, and then hand sewed it. And I put in the hooks and eyes and the final buttons, and it was done. So if you enjoyed seeing this rather quirky divided skirt come together, it'd be so lovely if you could like and give me a subscribe and come back soon to see more sewing adventures. This is the bloopers, clearly.